Well, I almost said good morning, everybody. I apologize. I used to do that when I was a teacher a lot. I used to get in the habit of saying good morning all the time. So it'd be like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would still say good morning. And it looks like I'm falling victim to that again as a streamer for 2-Bit Circus Foundation. So let's try that one more time. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 2-Bit Circus Foundation live stream. I am Michael, and I am here doing a project today all by myself. Robert will not be joining us today, unfortunately, but hopefully he will be back here again with us next week. We have a really cool project that we're doing, and again, we're going to be showcasing our 2-Bit Circus Foundation project kits. And these are the same or very similar projects to the ones that we had been live streaming since the beginning of the pandemic, except now we are prepping these wonderful kits that are coming pre-packaged with some warehouse materials so that you can do these projects on the go. You just get one of these quick kits, take them with you, and you're ready to go. So whether you're stay-at-home parent right now working with a student, or if you're a teacher working in a distance learning setting and you need project kits that you can easily send out to students who are in a virtual space, or maybe you're a classroom teacher and it's just easier for you to have compiled kits like this, they are readily available for you on various projects. So the project that we're going to be doing today is a fun elementary level middle school project, but really anybody could do it. But that's where it's the target audience is set for. All right. And this project is called the ArtBot. And it's a way of mixing art with circuitry. So kids will learn how to hook up a basic circuit, make a battery holder, and see how power can flow from one end of the battery to the other through a motor. And then they're going to make that vibrate and hopefully produce some art through their little robot. All right. So I have not opened this kit. I have seen the project done many times, but I have not used the kit yet, as always. So part of this video is also showcasing the kits, but it's also allowing us to make modifications and make sure that the kits are where we want them to be. So if I struggle with it on camera, part of that could be the learning experience, but also maybe those are some design changes that we need to work on the kit. So that's one thing we like to showcase at 2-Bit Circus Foundation is the learning experience. And that occurs at multiple levels, whether it occurs at the student level, the teacher level, a business level. The engineering design process is something that is layered and it occurs multiple times. So we're not pretending that we are perfect. We'll see what happens here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in the kit. So again, this is the ArtBot kit. You can use the materials any way you want to produce the robot, right? We encourage you to design and think outside of the box. So I'm going to show you a variation today that you can do, but again, you don't have to do it the way I'm doing it, and that's why we have various different materials in here. I am going to use the cone as the main body of my robot, right? So let's just look through here and see. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but let's see what we have in this kit that comes with it. We have two caps that have holes in them. So that's pretty cool. I don't know what they're for, what the holes are meant to be for. I know I use these in other projects. I like to use these for wheels, but I don't know if that's going to work for us today. We have a piece of material that's shiny, has some stars on there, and it reflects different colors of the light spectrum as I shine it with the light. I'm guessing this is some sort of maybe mylar plastic, I don't know. We have some foam rectangle cubes here. Now I know I had a little bit trouble with these last week when I was using a hot glue gun. It wasn't sticking very well. The foam was melting. So maybe I could learn from that experience I had last week. We have some cool little, I can always forget what these are called, puffy balls. I don't know. We'll call those right now. Puffy balls. All right, we have a couple springs here. That's pretty cool. And then we have this separate bag here that's sealed that has some materials in here. So let's go ahead and open this up. Again, this bag was sealed separately. So I'm guessing these parts work together somehow with the motor. Right? And now what I'm doing here, like if you want to repurpose or reuse these kits, I'm carefully cutting the bag open from the top and leaving as much bag as I can. So that way I can put the contents back in the bag if I were to take the project apart or reuse it for whatever purposes I may have. All right. We have some paper here. It looks like it's some sticky, like some tape or something. Okay, yeah, it comes off here and there's like some sticky circles there. All right, we'll put those to the side. We have some foil, some little sheets of foil here. Interesting, because foil is conductive. All right, so that was in here with the motor. So we have a little DC motor here. Again, it looks like this motor is in a separate package as well. All right, cut it open this side. That's the side it was sealed on, so let's just cut it open that way. If I could open the bag properly, that would be helpful. Okay. All right. Put that to the side here. So we have a little DC motor here. You hook up power to it. It doesn't look like it's polar, so it doesn't have a polarity. It doesn't specify which side is positive or negative. On a lot of these motors, that doesn't matter. It'll just spin one way or the other way. So if you hook it up and it's spinning one way, you want it to spin it the other, just switch the polarity. Okay, cool. We have some wires here. I'm guessing that is to attach here. So I am going to do this by hand. I mean, you could solder these wires. That would be the best way to attach these wires if you had access to a soldering pen and solder. But I am just going to kind of wrap the wire around the pole here as best as I can. And I just so happen to have electrical tape here. I was doing some electrical projects earlier, so I'm actually going to use some of this tape to hold in the wire. Now, you don't have to use electrical tape if all you have is regular Scotch tape. That'll probably do the trick as well. But I am just going to grab a piece of tape here. And what I'm using the tape for is that I wrap this wire around the pole of the motor. I noticed that I could still move the wire a little bit. And I don't want that to give me issues later with it connecting and unconnecting, disconnecting. So I am going to just tape around there just to make sure that it stays connected well. Okay? Could be messy, maybe so. I don't know here. Let's see. I think that will work. Now I don't feel it moving as much. All right. So that's one side. I will do the same thing to the other side. Just going to put the wire in through. I know it's hard to see these have little holes in them. So I'm just feeding the wire through there and then wrapping it around as best as I could by hand. A pair of pliers may come in handy as well doing this if kids' fingers aren't strong enough to bend those wires around. All right. Or to get a tighter fit, maybe you wouldn't need the tape if you were to use pliers to do that. And I like to do these things and come up with it as I go. All right, here. Just wrapping this tape around, making sure I try to keep a good connection between the metal of the wire and the middle. All right. Now I'm just going to test my motor, make sure my motor works, maybe my battery works. Having used these materials, again, they came sealed, so I don't know the condition. Hopefully they're working, but that's a good thing to check before you get started doing anything else, just to make sure they work. All right. And so if I could gently hold the pull there, and I don't know if you all could hear, but I hear the motor and I feel it vibrating. So that is a good sign. Our motor is working. And that's a good lesson for students to do there, especially young kids, is just to see, you know, you don't necessarily have to tell them how to make the motor work, but get it into this configuration and ask them to see if they can find a way to turn on the motor, right? And maybe they will try different things. Maybe they'll put it on both sides. They're not really going to break anything experimenting. So that's a good little thing to get students to understand that in order to complete a circuit and have electricity flow, you have to have what I call loops, right? So circuitry is all about just creating loops. If you have a broken loop, electricity can't flow, okay? If you have a closed loop, electricity can flow. And then series, parallel, we don't need to get into that, but we could, that's the basics, right? All right, awesome. So, again, I'm thinking, going back and forth in different ways here. I'm going from sciencey stuff with the circuitry, and then I'm going into engineering with engineering design and how all of this stuff fits together. I am looking at art, right? In the aesthetics, the way that my robot is going to work. And then our end product, where we're going to actually have it dance around and see what kind of artistic representation our robot can make for us. So I'm just brainstorming the order that I want to go in here with. I think we could go ahead and start looking at the robot and how we're going to design the robot, how we're going to make the robot look. All right. I just realized I don't have my hot glue gun plugged in here, so I'm going to step off of camera for like 5 seconds to plug that in. I'll be right back here. All right. My hot glue gun is now plugged in. I apologize. I always tend to forget to plug those things in before. But all right, so the hot glue gun has to heat up a little bit. And as it does that, I could kind of brainstorm what I want my robot to look like. I'm thinking that I want my robot to have eyes. I don't know how many eyes. I kind of like, these look kind of like eyeballies. I like how this looks like an eyeball. Kind of thinking that I could either put this in front or maybe even behind it. Oops. And it could be like a bobble eye robot. So I could put it on here, and maybe when the motor shakes around, the eyes will bounce a little bit. I think that would be pretty cool to do. So I'm probably going to try to do something like that. I also need to figure out how my legs are going to go on here, because the legs of the robot are going to be markers, okay? And that's why we call it an art bot, because the markers are going to go on the bottom here with the tip open, and then as it dances around and vibrates, those markers are going to move and create some sort of pattern, right? So I know these are going to be my legs. There's 4 markers here. Maybe you have 4 legs. Maybe you have 3 legs. I think I could still do and get my robot to be balanced with 3 legs, right? Like 2 on the side, more to the back, like a triangular shape there, like that. Kind of looks like a rocket ship. I don't know if I'll be able to maintain balance with 2 legs, so I don't think you could get less than 3. But you could do 3 or 4 legs. Let's see how that comes out. All right, my glue is hot enough now. I'm going to try to make some bobbly eyes. So I'm going to throw some glue on here, and attach the spring to the glue. All right. Let that dry a little bit. I think I have like an eye that can bounce around here. That's cool. It's like some springiness to it. Okay. Pretty cool. Alright, I need to put another glue stick in here. We're almost out of that one. And then let's do that to this other one as well. I'll do this to both. I don't know if I'm going to use both eyes, so maybe it's a one-eyed robot, a Cyclops robot. And the reason I said maybe it's only one eye, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I could fit those close enough together to make them look like eyeballs, but we'll see, maybe. Alright, I'm going to try to glue that one of those on here. Going in there, alright. Glue on there, because I don't know exactly how this is going to stick on here, but we'll try. Okay. That spring is kind of big like I thought it would be on there. Let's see if it's going to hold. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to change my idea if this can't hold with glue. Might be too heavy up front for the glue to hold. Still didn't work there. Let's see again. Sometimes it's hard to get these materials to stick to each other. Sometimes the answer is patience. Sometimes the answer is a lot of glue. I'm going with a lot of glue route right now. Excuse me. Push that on there. Let's get that glue to dry. Glue is really hot. Maybe if I take gravity off of that for a second, it'll work. By putting it down, you know, the gravity's not pulling on it, it's pushing it downward. Maybe that'll help it dry quicker there. I'm going to clear my throat really quick. Alright. So I think that'll work. I'm just going to get this hold that so it doesn't roll over. Tip it a little bit this way. Nope, that's not going to work. Alright. Now, maybe tape would work too. If this doesn't work with the glue, I could wrap tape around the spring and the cone, and I'm sure that will hold. I just thought of the tape idea because I was thinking about how I'm going to put my legs on here, and I thought that if I just wrap these and put tape around them, it would hold all three of them. So that's what I'm going to do. What colors do I want? Let's go with green, orange, and pink. I don't know how well the yellow will show up, so I'm going to put that one to the side here. Let's grab some tape. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this with only one hand. Can't hold all three markers. I did want to just put one tape around the entire thing, but I'll tape them individually. My eye seems to be holding now that the glue is solidified a little bit. That's a good thing. Okay, so we got my little one-eye monster coming to life here. Now, let's make sure these markers are somewhat straight downward. This one was a little bit crooked. Okay. Alright. Put this one over here. Oh, and it got stuck on there. Alright guys, and give me 1 second. I'm going to step off the camera here. I have some background noise that's kind of bugging me a little bit. Awesome. I apologize again for that. Sorry. It appears the TV was left on in the other room and it got kind of loud there. Alright. So I have 2 legs in the front. I'm thinking about just putting 1 leg in the back. Let's put this green one in the background. Again, I'm just taping these into place right now to get a rough idea. I don't know if it is the best place for them or if I'm going to have to move them around at all. Again, just experimenting. Okay. So you can see that just by my initial impression here, it looks like the front or the back leg is a little too tall. So it's tipping my robot towards the front. So I'm going to make it lean back a little bit. All right. Now my idea of making it lean back, I just thought because I had the eyeball up front there, but I am going to have an added weight with the motor on and stuff. So now just trying to keep those legs straight here. Again, I will need more tape, but this is just like a rough example here. So you can see I now have somewhat of a robot with 3 legs. I am trying the 3-leg design, and there are 4 markers, and maybe I will need all 4. It is kind of tippy, but I wanted to try 3. Okay, and I will need more tape here because this tape is falling off, but a rough idea of where I am going with this art design. Okay, let's try to structure these legs a little bit better. Make sure they don't fall. Okay. Keep them as straight as possible, stick them, and then magical tape. Tape all around. Tape, tape, tape. Lots of tape. Alright. So I just wrapped the tape around. Maybe I think I went around 2 times there. Now my robot has kind of a lean because of the markers, but that's okay. I kind of like the character of that, the way he's looking. Let me pull these caps off here, and let's just make sure he stands on the tips okay as well. Again, going through step by step, checking along as I go. All right. It looks like he's standing. He's kind of standing with a lean. It's all right. If I want to fix that, I can fix that just by moving the markers, but I like the way it looks. I like the character of him right now, right? He's only got 1 eye. Should we add another eye for him, or should he just be a 1-eyed guy? I think 1 eye. I like 1 eye. All right, let's cap these markers up so I don't make a mess. Cap, cap, and cap. Awesome. The next thing that I think I have to do to get this robot to go is work again back to the motor. So I did a little bit circuitry stuff, went to the robot, now I'm going back to the circuitry stuff. I don't know, that's just the way I operate. 1 little thing here, 1 little thing there. Cool. Now the battery has to connect to the motor to make my loop. Okay? So I need to figure a way out that I can make that happen consistently, right? So I could just tape it there, but I want to be a little bit cleaner with that. So they have these foil and these paper clips. And what I'm going to do is wrap some of the foil around half of the paper clip here. Now I don't think it matters which half of the paper clip, just as you do one half. Okay? And what that's going to do is provide a nice surface here that I can then connect to the battery. Right? So that'll allow me to connect to the battery. And then the wire I'm going to attach to the paper clip, and then I will just tape nicely the battery to the paper clip. Again, this just creates a bigger surface area. And I have a lot of foil here. I'm just going to cut some of that off. Okay. That just creates a nice flat area to be in contact with the tip of the battery, a larger surface than just the wire, so it'll help you maintain your connectivity there. Okay. Now again, you could use regular Scotch tape, but I do have electrical tape, so I'm just going to use electrical tape because I'm dealing with electricity. Again, this is just insulated better than regular tape, but regular tape will do the trick as well. I don't think you need to go out and spend extra money to get the electrical tape for this. You don't. You do not have to do that. Okay. Have that one end there, like that. Nice connection, nice. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing to the other side of the paper clip. That's what I'm going to do. So do that one more time here. Again, just take the foil, put it halfway around the paper clip, and then gently just fold. I am trying to keep the foil stiff around the paper clip there, just so it looks as clean as it can. Fold. Oops, it ripped. So I can't fold anymore, it ripped. But that's okay. I have enough layers there. I guess I was pulling too tight. Alright. Awesome. So that's what it should look like, in case you can see that there. Foil wrapped around a paper clip. Nothing fancy. And that is going to come in contact again with the other side of the battery. Okay. Another piece of electrical tape. Place this on here. Around. Cool. And now I have two little connections tied to my battery that will allow me to connect the wires easier and hold them in place. All right. Now I am going to check again. I am testing my work along the way. So I am going to just hold the wires to the paper clips for now to make sure I still get a nice connection through there. And I do, and the motor is running. I can hear it. I don't know if all of you can, but it is running. So that is awesome. But my connection here is a little loose from that wire. A little bit more tape on there just to fix it. And by fix, I mean the fix where, make it so it doesn't move kind of fix. Alright, better. Now something that you can experiment with in here is if I have one end of the wire attached to one side and the other end attached to the other. See, now that I have it on the table, you probably can hear it better because of the vibration of the table as well. So if I have it on there, it's going to keep going forever. There's no way I can stop it unless I unhook the wire. So in order to help us out doing that, we're actually going to take a third paper clip that's in the package. It doesn't matter what side you attach it to, but you're going to attach the wire around the paper clip see if I can do that here as I'm talking. All right. You can wrap it in foil. You know what? I'm going to wrap it around the other wire. Now, I was initially going on the red wire, but the little end of the wire is not very long. The black wire has a longer end, a longer end exposed. So I'm going to use that end just because I have more metal to be able to wrap in here. Okay? So that's the only reason I am choosing the negative wire. Okay? So I have more wire here to be able to wrap around in my design. Ouch. Okay. We could use some more foil here. And you can wrap the foil and the wire together. That's going to help you. And I'm going to cut this in half. I'll just use this side. I don't need that much foil, right? Just a little bit here. And again, the foil is just giving an increased surface area around the paper clip and the wire to make sure the conductivity is nicer in there. All right, so you have a nicer connection. That means your project is more likely to work consistently. Okay. And then on top of that, I am just going to put a little bit more tape because I want to be able to make sure that connection stays there and it doesn't fall off. And I noticed, make sure you don't do what I just did and cover up the entire paper clip end. And what I mean by that, I'll show you right now in a moment. So when you cover with the foil for this part, make sure that you leave one end of the paper clip exposed because you're going to use that as like a little hook, right? That you can latch onto this other paper clip here to make sure you have a connection. And that's going to act like a switch. You could connect it, disconnect it, connect it, disconnect it, right? And then the other side of the wire, you can actually attach as well here. Okay. So again, this side is going to be harder because the wire is smaller, but that's okay. See how I can do that? If you had access to some wire cutters, you can cut back on the wire gently to make sure you have more wire there. But I will survive with this like that. All right. Going to use a little bit more foil here again to make sure that connection doesn't come loose here. I keep ripping the foil. I'm ripping the foil because I'm pulling too tight on it, but I'm trying to make the foil fold as cleanly as I can. All right. Again, foil's purpose is to increase the surface area of conductivity between the wire and my connections, making sure you have a cleaner connection. That way it doesn't come off. Okay? I'm going to use another little bit of tape here. Again, you can use regular tape. I'm just using electrical tape because I have it available, but it's not a necessity. Again, just repeating what I said earlier. Right. All right, so now you can see that the battery is actually attached with a combination of foil and tape. Easy enough for little kids to do, easy enough for adults to do. A little bit more tape on there because I don't like that connection. Want to get a better connection in there. Awesome. I miss Robert's goofiness right about now. I can use his goofiness and his creativity here with this project. All right. So now I have a nice connection. Again, I can just slip that on there and the motor is moving. I'll put it on the table. So that way it amplifies the sound you probably could hear. If it doesn't come off there, there we go. So we're still working. All our connections are good. The next thing to do is to just attach the motor to our robot. Now I am going to put the motor towards the top, and I'm going to try to be creative on how I attach this. So I'm going to put the motor there, making him tip already because of battery. So maybe I should flip this around, battery to the other side, against the way he is tipping. Yep, that works a lot better. Fold these wires back down here. And I'm going to use a little bit of tape here to hold those wires onto my robot. Let's put that wire down there. Again, I'm just using the tape right now to fix the wires. That means hold them in place to my robot, like that. Now I have to find a way to make this battery stay up here. So we're going to use our wonderful tape again. Again, this is an easy project. Tape and foil as connections makes everything work. Okay. Okay. Everything's working. I'm just going to experiment right now. Unhook that so the motor goes off. I'm going to take this off, and I want to see what happens with the vibrations on just the way it is right now. Okay. Let's see what it does here, if it makes any art for me this way, in this configuration. Okay, let's stand it up. My one-eyed bobbly-head monster. Okay, so I noticed something happening. My motor's running. I hear my motor running. But I'm not getting enough vibration to make the robot actually move, okay? Like I want it to be able to move. All right, so let's disconnect this again. I might have to fix that lane, but we'll see. We need to find a way that we can make this vibrate, shake back and forth. Okay. So one way to do that is when the motor's spinning, you want it to be able to oscillate in an unbalanced fashion. Okay? So I'm going to see what the foam does, putting some foam onto the motor. So I literally just took the motor that's sitting up here. Maybe I need to move this forward a little bit. Okay. Let me just get the motor off the edge a bit. Right? Now I'm doing some engineering here. I'm just going to put some foam, push it over the shaft of the motor shaft. Right? So now I have some sort of material spinning from the edge, but I didn't put it centered, I put it offset. I just want to see what happens with that. Doing a little bit of experimentation here. Oh, so it made some weird noises that fell off. Let's try that again. Same thing happened. Let's try a third time. And it's working. I see what it's doing here. What that's doing is it's creating more vibration. I don't know if you could hear it when I let go, but it's creating some vibrational patterns in there that's making my robot shake. But it is coming off. So I just need to find a way to keep that onto that motor shaft. Obviously glue might work. Let's see. Something else I could do is maybe the pen cap. I don't know. That'd be interesting if I could do that. But let's try to do this foam block on the edge there. Put some glue on the motor shaft and stick the foam in there. Making that motor unbalanced. Even the slightest little weight from the foam is enough to make that unbalanced. Let's give it a second to dry there. I don't want to, and I'm checking that right now, I don't want to glue the foam to the motor, the housing of the motor. I just want to glue it to the shaft. Let's see what happens there. Probably going to go flying off again, but we'll see. Ah, it's going. I'm getting some art in there now. Oh, tip. Let's flip this over here a little bit. I'm getting some art. I'm getting art. It's working. So it is working here. It is actually going around the green. Oop, there it goes. Let me take this off of here. We can look at what it was doing. It was going around the green. The green marker was acting as like a center point for a circle. And then as it was vibrating, it was causing the orange and the purple marker to go around in a circle. So it was actually dancing on the green legs, spinning like this as the motor was spinning as well. That's interesting. Now, it was spinning, let's see which way it was spinning. Right now the motor, as you're looking at it, is spinning this way, which to me, the direction I'm looking at it right now would be counterclockwise. Okay? If you were to switch the polarity, I wonder how it would dance as well. I also notice that maybe, let's see, before I speak any further. Interesting. The green leg that it was on the most was actually the lowest of the three legs. So it's leaning back, and maybe that's why most of the weight is down on that one, so it's not vibrating, it's just sitting there. I'm actually going to experiment a little bit more. I am going to change the elevation of my green marker so it's not the lowest one. Okay, it's more even now. And let's see what happens with that experiment here for this. It's moving, it's moving, it's moving. There it goes. I'm getting a couple different things occurring here. It's actually changing, it's going back and forth. Now I think that's just because of the vibrations, the way the motor's vibrating on top of it. Not only do I have the motor spinning, but because of the vibrations, the motor's actually bouncing up and down. So it's creating some unique shapes there. Moving around. Okay, cool. So now all three are moving. Still moving in a circle. Alright, let's try it this way. Cool. Now I'm getting a little bit more variation in the pattern. It's not just a circle. Okay, cool. Now it changed again, just naturally. And that's what you want your robot to do. It is the artist. So it is creating the motion for you. Cool. It's really cool. Every time I pick it up and put it down again, I'm getting a different variation of art in it. Pretty cool. Awesome. So you could actually do this as you're creating your art. Pull it, put it back on there, let it make a different pattern for you. Vibration. Whoop, skipped over. Pretty cool. Oh. I thought my battery was dying because it's slowing down, but it looks like the connections, right? So that's what we were trying to work on with those connections. So if it appears like it's slowing down a little bit, I'm just pushing the tape on. The vibrations are going to cause that tape to come off a little bit. But that helps because it makes it get different patterns with different velocity of the engine. So the RPM of the engine changing is changing the type of artwork that it provides onto the paper. That's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to disconnect that really quickly. There's different things you could experiment with this robot as you're doing it. Again, I'm just doing 3 legs. You could add a 4th leg in there. Try changing the height of the legs as you go from one leg to the other, or maybe 2 over leaning if you have 4 legs on there. Or even with 3, you could have the weight leaning more towards the 2 legs, and that's probably going to change the patterns in the art you get. Something else, I just put this little bit of foam on here that's creating that. I wonder what happens if I increase the amount of foam I put on there. That might change the vibration in the robot. I'm going to try that really quickly. I'm just going to put a bigger block of foam. Bigger block of foam is changing in 2 ways. It is changing, and maybe I should only change it in 1 way, right? If we want to be good scientists, only change 1 variable at a time. So a couple things that I'm thinking in my head could change the vibration here by changing the foam is 1, the length of the foam. So that way you're changing the lever arm that the motor is acting on. Changing the size of it is probably going to change the mass more so. So I am first going to change the mass. All right, so I'm going to cut. I cut down there really quickly a bigger block of foam, but I did it to the same length as the smaller block. Now I do have my marking on here, and it was relatively, again, I'm not being like exact, right? But it is relatively closer to the edge. So I'm going to try to mirror roughly that distance away on the bigger block. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be close enough for us right now, right? Close enough. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm putting a little bit of hot glue on the motor shaft. The glue just comes off really easy. Make sure that you're not, okay, let me finish this real quick. Make sure you're not gluing the motor to the, excuse me. Make sure you're not gluing the motor body to the foam, that you're only gluing the shaft to the foam. Otherwise, you won't get any motion because everything is fixed, okay? So again, motor shaft glued to motor foam, fixed to it. Maybe you could use tape or something else, but I don't know. Glue works for me. Alright, so that did change it. I did notice that putting the more massive foam on there is creating a little bit more chaos, I want to say, in my motor. And you can also notice that it changed the amount of the jumps that it's doing. So it's not as consistent of a line, but there's more points now in the artwork. Pretty cool. What happened here? The connections again. Make sure those connections are good, you're going to get even more vibration in there. Dancing around, creating different artwork. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I'm going to change it one more time here. Cool. As careful as I was with my connections on the battery still are not that great. Okay. Awesome. Now I'm going to try a third block of foam. And I'm just going to put the third block of foam on there. I have glue on there still. Let's see if that works. It might fly off, which means I'll put more glue on. But let's just see what happens. Yep, just flew off of there. All right, so let's put some more glue. Oops. Again, put that on there. Okay. Now you could, again, change the location you're putting it on there, make it more centered, make it further out, more mass, less mass. So many different things that you could attach to this motor to give it different properties in there. Okay, let's see what this one does. Whoa, that one made a tip. So that definitely slows it down, right? And that kind of makes sense. If you have a larger torque arm and more mass, it's going to be harder for the motor to turn it. So it's not giving me as consistent of a vibration, but he's kind of just waddling along there, making dots whenever he wants. It's cool because sometimes it's giving me a dot, other times it's giving me like a little dash line. So that's pretty cool there. Again, I probably could change that, make it speed up a little bit. Pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, let's take that off. Take this off here for a moment. Right. There you go. And you can see the motor shaft is completely clean now. All the glue came off with it, which allows you to keep putting more glue on if you want to test different things here. Now, there's a couple materials that I didn't use today, which is okay. You don't necessarily have to use everything that's in the package, but it's here for you if you so choose. I think this material would have been cool if I wanted to add some artwork or to cover up the body of all that tape to make it look more aesthetically pleasing. I could do that. Maybe I cut out different shapes or letters on here and attached it. I really like my one eye here, and it has the little hole in the center, which makes it look like an eyeball. The springs, as it's vibrating, the eyeball bounces around. I did only put one eyeball on there. The other eyeball is here. I just had an idea, you know, we were talking about different things you could experiment to see what different kind of art you can get with this robot. Maybe you could use the spring as well, and maybe this little tray, and set the motor. I can't do it the way the wires are taped right now, but I could maybe make like a little platform for the motor, and then you're adding different types of vibrations or oscillations in there with the spring motion and the vibration of the motor at the same time. So that might produce a little bit different motion in the robot, producing different artwork characteristics. I also am going to cap these markers really quickly. I noticed that it's just leaking the ink out, and I don't necessarily want that to happen. All right, the colors are mixed up, but part of the design, right? Cool. So you could do that. Maybe if you wanted to, you can use those as antennas with the springs too, and use them as trays for the motor. You could do multiple things. You could also create, maybe with these little puffy balls, turn them into eyeballs as well. Maybe glue that on the front there. So it's an eyeball. Maybe he could be wearing a dress shirt, and I could glue them on as little buttons of his dress shirt. I don't know. Just thinking about different ways on there. Right? So he has little eyes and a dress shirt. Maybe they're little hands. You can use a marker, you can write on here. Oh, I'm going to write Artbot. Artbot. Cool, so I just wrote art on one side and bot on the other, just kind of showing you different things you could do with stuff in the kit. Interesting, they had these in here too. These were like little sticky things. I don't know, these are like gooey, double-sided sticky tape. That would have probably been useful when I'm like trying to hold the motor up here, right? You remember how the motor was bouncing up and down? I don't know, maybe that will help secure it. Again, that will change the art. So it's not something that you have to do, but it's something that you can do to add variation into your project. Those sticky little tabs could have come in helpful use too, and been helpful to attach maybe the markers to things, or to hold the paper clip to the battery like I was having issues. Maybe I could have used that instead of hot glue to stick things on, right? Many different things that you could or could not do with parts of the kit. So again, to recap what we've done here today, we did a project called the Artbot. And this is what I made for mine. I used a cone as the body, a little bouncy eyeball here, one eye little robot, 3 legs, could choose 3 or 4 legs. Then we just made a simple circuit with a motor and a switch to create vibrations in the art. I used different size lever arms or masses to create imbalance in the motor oscillation, which allowed the robot to jump around and move. All right. Fun little project. I actually loved it a lot. It was a lot of fun today. I wish Robert was here to join me, of course, so he could have seen this robot, but he'll be over here playing with it, and I'm sure we'll make his own as well. Something else I wanted to point out is I could, because I just used tape and glue, I could cut and remove the glue. Hot glue comes off really easily. I could repackage this kit, and I could reuse it if I so chose. Maybe some materials would have to be replaced, like the foil, would have to be replaced. But for the most part, you could reuse the materials from this kit and make different iterations of the robot. These kits are available at 2-Bit Circus Foundation, and you can use them in many different ways, as I said earlier. You could use them if you're homeschooling or parenting, or even as an arts and crafts project, science project for your students while they're on vacations or sitting at home. If you're a teacher in a distance learning setting, there is curriculum that is aligned to these kits and projects that you can find in our playbook, and you can online as well, and you can play with different ways of using this in your classroom. Again, they're already packaged, ready to go. You can send them on their way with your kids when they pick up their lunches, if your school has free or reduced lunches. You can send them home alongside textbooks if you wanted to. Many different ways you can get them to your students, but this is ways that they can do artistic projects, STEAM style activities while they're at home. And you notice that I didn't need any specialty tools. I used a pair of scissors, I used hot glue, they could use any type of glue, and or tape. You can use tape as well. Again, I use electrical tape, but like I said earlier, don't need special electrical tape. Any regular Scotch or masking tape will work. Well, again, thank you for joining me today on our 2-Bit Circus Foundation live stream. I am Michael, and we will be back here next week with another project. And don't forget to stay tuned for Kate's project this Thursday. All right, everybody. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.